Hello, happy Thursday, and welcome to our weekly holistic mini workshops. I'm your host, Dr. Patricia, and today we're going to be talking about all about the thyroid and why that's important to women's health, how we can support ourselves the holistic way, common things that we can do on our daily lives, and things that we may not realize that's connected to our thyroid health. Hi, Ilea. It's nice to see you here in Instagram. You can also join me in the Facebook group or the StreamYard so I can interact with you live and answer any questions you have about thyroid health. Um, so, for those who are tuning in for the first time, I'm Dr. Patricia. I'm an integrative women's health doctor. I'm based in Tucson and the founder of Thrive Life Center. And so, for those who are new for integrative medicine, um, so essentially, it is the combination of all the best worlds, Eastern, Western, and honestly, anything in between. Anything that works and anything that supports you to get into the root cause for you to really activate that divine technology inside of us, that force that made the body, because the force that made the body heals the body. Yeah. I hope that's sounding good for those who are watching me live. I'm live on my YouTube, LinkedIn, the Thriving Woman group, and here in Instagram. All right. So I'm excited to talk about this because it is honestly, there was just a message that came so strongly and so clearly the last week. It's almost like, talk about the thyroid, talk about the thyroid. And I'm like, why? Why? But I know why. So, thyroid medications, this is one of the reason why. Thyroid is connected to everything. Like literally, the thyroid health is connected to everything. I wanted to have a cheat sheet. I wanted to know, okay, how do I hack the system? How can I be simplistic, directive, and whatever approach to just minimize the symptoms of people who are suffering from thyroid issues? And in conventional medicine, easy. You give a medication, but typically it doesn't really get to the root cause. So I go to traditional, medicine, and the thyroid is just connected to everything, like even acupuncture points. I apologize. My mom is texting me, and that's what you heard. So it's like connected to everything. Bottom line, there is no like one thing to do for your thyroid because it's connected to everything. Um, and the second reason why I wanted to focus on this, what does connected to everything mean? So it connects to our focus, it connects to our skin, it connects to digestion, meaning like literally how we digest our fats, how we digest our hormones or detoxify, how we eliminate. So, literally, pooping. If you have a lot of constipation or diarrhea, it might be your thyroid. Also, detoxification from a women's health standpoint, which is your menstrual cycle. So, if you have anything off with your menstrual cycles, it still might be your thyroid. So, everything leads to the thyroid. And think of this, where is your thyroid located? It's here. Yeah, it's here. And it's literally almost like the bridge from this to the lower. Before this goes to there, it has to pass through there. Before everything below gets to here, it has to pass through here. And in energy medicine, what does that mean? It's a bridge. It is, um, and in other forms of energy medicine, this is the expression. This is the throat chakra. So, how our inner and outer worlds are expressed can be through the thyroid health. So, it's a lot, right? It has so many meaningful applications and things that you can do so that you're sharp, skin is beautiful, expressing being authentic, um, digestion, cholesterol levels, women's health. So, so many good stuff, right? And the other thing is, what's concerning is the number one prescribed medication in the US is the cholesterol medicine, atorvastatin. The second, guess what? It's your thyroid medication. It is the levothyroxine. So levothyroxine is a synthetic form of what our T4, one of our thyroid hormones. So that just was so mind blowing to me, no? And I highly doubt that it is just genes that's driving this number two prescribed medication in the US. Like, really? All those people are because of genetic predisposition, and most geneticists and epigenetic experts will agree with me that actually even chronic diseases like heart disease, um, diabetes are not just because of genes. It's majority lifestyle, it's majority environment. No, it is our environment that triggers the genes to have that disease. So, and I apologize, my lighting is a little off. And so when a lot of my clients and patients would say it's my genes, like, yeah, part of it, like literally 20% of it is your genes. And from an empowerment standpoint, what does that mean? It means majority of it, 80% of the time, you are in charge. You are in charge. So I'm excited to dive in to thyroid health because I see a lot of women with thyroid dysfunction. It is very much, technical difficulties. So if anyone's watching, if you can comment on what tripod you love to use. I've bought at least 3 tripods already for my iPhone, and I just can't find my forever tripod. For those who are tuning live, we are talking about all thyroid health the holistic way and how thyroid is connected to almost everything and anything in our health, especially with women's health, especially with our fertility, with our mental sharpness, with our skin. Who doesn't want to have a nice skin? With our bowel movements, with our cholesterol level, and then our cardiovascular health too, and our expression. That's in energy medicine, and our authenticity and how we show up in the world. Because this, and I'll explain to you later, the energetic way of how we see things. So, this is the head, and then the body. Where is the thyroid? Here, right? It's the bridge between the upper and the lower body. So, it's like that kind of that middle ground on expressing what is happening inside and how we perceive the world. So back to the story on the common pattern that I see in women having thyroid issues. No, and you may have subclinical thyroidism, which means your thyroid levels may be normal, but you're exhibiting symptoms of like your thyroid is not in tip-top shape. It's not in the optimum function that it can do. And so we've talked about from head to foot what may be the clues. But the common story, and there are many. I would say there are 3 patterns of my thyroid patients. And just a heads up that this might be triggering, no, for those who are hearing this. And also, this is a workshop. It's for educational purposes only. Even though I'm an MD, don't take this as a medical advice. This is for us to unpack other layers to how we can support ourselves in thyroid health. And if you need more support, contact your primary care or your endocrinologist or your holistic provider. And if you want to get the root cause and really optimize your health, I'm available to support you. So I just need to give that disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only. The common story of that woman who comes to me with a thyroid issue, and again, please maybe have an energetic shield if this can trigger you, is initially they come to me because of energy. Initially, on the surface, it's because they feel tired all the time. On the surface, because, again, those digestion issues or menstrual irregularities. Um, but when I dig deeper, after we go through that diagnostics, some of the pharmaceuticals, um, there is a story that trigger them to don't exercise their voice, to they have this fear of telling the truth of what happened, of what they really feel, of what they really think. So it's a very unconscious way of our bodies expressed through the thyroid. And that story of fear of telling what really is the truth and what they really feel, because it's now not safe to feel, is a form of usual women's trauma, which is being violated through touch, through talk, through how they were parented as a little girl, kind of minimizing that, volume down, or they were touched and violated in a way where they could not process it, and they fear that if they tell that story to someone else, they will be harmed, or nobody will believe them. And so you diminish, then you turn off this expression organ, and then it's like a expression everywhere, no? So that's one of the most common thing that I see. The next common theme is there is too much going on, and that, like, speed in that lifestyle, the speed doesn't allow them to really be thoughtful of what's in their environment, from the products that they use, from the food that they eat, from what happened in their waking life. No, so then there's inflammation. So that's the second most common. But to most conventional providers, it's either genetics, inflammation. To me, it's energetic. It's very much energetic. There's a form of abuse, there's a form of, like, mute it, mute it. And so this throat chakra becomes um, compromised. Mhm. And so how can we bridge? So it's a bridge, right? This thyroid organ is the bridge on our perception, on how we sense things, and before it can even go down to how do you actually feel about that, the heart chakra, to how can you feel safe with what you perceive and you sense in the world. So it's a bridge. And how do you express all that? Through here. So 3 ways to do it is, you know, Of course, number one, the physical environment, the energy, the products, toxins. What are the common toxins that I see that people don't even realize how much it affects our thyroid health? And the number one that many may not know, so these are what we call um, thyroid disruptors, endocrine disruptors. So it disrupts the physiology or the natural homeostasis, the harmony in your thyroid. And so there's a ton, but I'm going to make it very practical, easy to eliminate and maybe switch choices found on our daily life. Number one is, not surprisingly, it's close to the thyroid in proximity. Here, what do we use here on a daily basis? What do we brush our teeth with? This is the way you brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. Fluoride. If anyone gets that, yes, it's fluoride. Fluoride is an antagonist to iodine. And iodine, as a lot of you may know, is the component to create our thyroid hormones. So discuss your oral health with your dental provider. If you can switch to a fluoride-free toothpaste. And fluoride is really like one of the dementogens, what we call them. It makes you demented, quite literally. So I don't know. You might want to consider doing fluoride free if you manage your teeth health and other ways, like low sugar, non-processed food, and whatnot. So that's number one. Other things are definitely other toxins that is so commonly found. I was talking about number one is fluoride. We don't even know that it's an iodine antagonist. Number two is things that are found in your hand washing soaps and hand sanitizers. Pandemic just happened. Everyone was obsessed about washing their hands all the time. I'm not against washing hands, but look into what's inside of it. If you see the word something like triclosan, um, I would shy away because it's commonly around. A lot of hospitals actually have this active ingredient. And that's why when I was still in the hospital as a hospitalist, I would really bring my own hand wash. Okay. So I don't rely on, all those public soaps and whatnot. I remember my mother had the same habit, not because that she knew about triclosan. She was just a Girl Scout. So now I know, like, okay, at least it's not weird. Other people do it, so I bring my own cleaning stuff. Um, the other one is food. So common foods that we may not be aware that can disrupt the thyroid health are top two foods is, unfortunately, because it's still good. So I would say this is for those who have low thyroid levels, no, who are really like battling with things like Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune issue with thyroid. But I would avoid things like soy. So soy um, competes with the thyroid. It's a goitrogen essentially, and other brassicarous or cruciferous vegetables. The brassica family, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So things like cauliflower, broccoli, which is so unfortunate because both those two things, like soy and cauliflower, I still love to prescribe because they're good for women's health, for bone health, for breast health, for estrogen detoxification. So you wanna like really have a conversation with your provider. What's that fine balance for you? Hi, Dr. Hind. Thanks for joining. We're kind of in the thick of it. We were talking about why thyroid health was important. The common story, which is there's a form of we were diminished in terms of how we express the energetics of thyroid about expressing ourselves. That throat chakra. Thank you. Um, and that the thyroid is like the bridge, right, from perception to body, the lower. It's literally like the bridge in between the upper and the lower. And that the second most common prescription prescribed in the United States is the levothyroxine, which is the hypothyroidism medication. And that just blows my mind. And the top two things that we were talking about to potentially eliminate is one, fluoride, because it's a iodine antagonist. And then number two is triclosan, which is found in a lot of like hand washing things, hand sanitizer. So these are thyroid disruptors, and food, which is the cruciferous vegetables. Unfortunately, like the broccoli, cauliflower. But I'm not saying don't do that. Only for those who are possibly having low thyroid because it competes with your thyroid health. But it's still very good for women's health because it helps detoxify estrogen. So you need to really have a personal conversation with your holistic provider. Um, and so, how do we tonify, right? How do we tonify now, knowing, okay, in my environment, the common things that I will eliminate, top one and two, easy, right? So how can we now build the building blocks of thyroid? Number one is, of course, iodine, right? We want to have some iodine, but you don't want to overdo it. The minimum for women is around like 200 micrograms. It's different at every stage of our womanhood, especially when we're pregnant. But a lot of my patients and clients would self-medicate with iodine supplementation, and that can also harm you because there's a thing called the Wolff-Chaikoff effect, where you actually harm the thyroid if you overdo it. So there's that fine balance, and that's why you really want to link arms with holistic providers who knows what they're doing. Number two is selenium. So selenium is also like a very important nutrient that tonifies our thyroid, and it's high in things like Brazil nuts. It's high in barley, couscous. So I would recommend having more of that. And with iodine, things like kelp, um, miso soup, nori, seaweed. So I'm saying a lot of like the plant-based things, and I'll explain to you in a moment why. But other minerals and vitamins is things like vitamin A, zinc, iron. Um, yeah, so those would be my top things. So the selenium and iodine, and definitely vitamin A and zinc. No, so why am I focusing on more plant-based recommendations? So animal fat, saturated animal fat, is one of the highest to what's this store another thyroid disruptor, which is dioxin. So dioxin is found mainly in animal fat, but it's found in everywhere. Okay, but it's mostly found in animal fat. So that's why you may want to really consider plant-based fat, so it has less of that dioxin um, accumulation that won't disrupt your thyroid. And earlier we were talking about connecting animal fats and connecting to the number one prescribed medication, top one, which is atorvastatin, the cholesterol medication. Top two is thyroid medication. So it's only makes sense. I think both of them are related. You know, um, if we eat a lot of dioxins that is found in saturated animal fat, we not only have this high cholesterol in the blood, but we also disrupt the thyroid health, which is one of the major metabolizers for cholesterol health. And I think that's mainly the reason why. Top one is atorvastatin, top two is your thyroid hormones. So you eliminate that risk when you minimize that saturated fat coming from animals. So I'm not anti fat, I'm just pro non dioxin rich fat, which is mainly the Brazil nuts, walnuts, avocados, and again, that Brazil nuts and is high in selenium, which can also support your thyroid health. So these are the simple ways, no, to really know, okay, in my environment, in my food, what can support my thyroid. But back to the energetics of the thyroid. That common story that I hear among women, which is the switch to express what is true to them was turned off because of a trauma or a programming, cultural programming, religious, whatever it is. And typically, just recognizing that can be enough. How can we support the throat chakra? So that's the first step. You make the unconscious conscious. So knowing that that story of trauma and how that expression, were you brave enough to claim your truth? Or are you gaslighting yourself? Sometimes all these trauma patients that I have, they have that shame and guilt for being that victim of being abused. Or so then you want to elevate to your emotional frequency scale. Instead of shame and guilt, have the freedom to feel angry. Go up. And then after feeling angry, you forgive, you let go. And then after letting go, you then have neutrality. Then you find the heart and meaning. Then from victim to survivor to a thriver. When you find the heart and meaning and you have joy. And then when it comes from joy, your expression now is not from the wound. It comes from that integration, no? So now we're talking about energetics. Yeah. But color therapy is also very powerful. It's not a surprise I was so attracted to this blue dress today because blue is the color of our throat chakra. Blueberries. I mean, I don't have any data to support this. It's more of traditional medicine, but data will catch up. Data will catch up. Same thing with when I was starting practicing acupuncture 10 years ago, when I would go rounding in the hospital, they would just say, oh, acupuncture is quackery. And now, most orthopedic doctors send their patients to me because they now have the data, because science caught up from thousands of years of practice, no? Anyway, back to how to support the throat chakra. Knowing, make the unconscious conscious. Usually, the body is the unconscious. How your thyroid health is the one that's expressing that there's something that needs to flow. There's something that needs to go higher, no? Then the environment, which we talked about, fluoride, dioxins in animal fat, soy and cruciferous vegetables, avoid or have a discussion with your provider how to balance that, iodine, selenium. And lastly, you want to go back to, once you know the outer world and the inner story, you go now to why do you even want to heal your thyroid? Who is your 2.0 with the tonified thyroid who is authentic in expressing their truth? who comes from a healed and meaningful, joyful place as they express themselves. Like, paint a picture of your north, because a lot of women get so lost in the process, in the mechanics, in the strategy of what to do next. What functional medicine do I need to do, and like what test, and there's many tests, okay? Those who want support, come see me, or connect with your local integrative provider. There are so many tests to check for heavy metals, to check for your gut health, to check for your iodine, your nutritional. So there's so many things. It's a rabbit hole. So we get lost in that, like, I want to fix it, I want to fix it, I want to support it. But we don't have that clear vision and picture of why do we want to do it in the first place. So we want to like really have a clarity of who that 2.0 tonified expression, authentic, flowing, no, energized, that will be reflected in your thyroid. So with that, my sisters, I hope that was helpful. I'll pause for a moment and check in with everyone who's listening. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything that moved you? Connect with me directly. I love connecting. Thank you, Dr. Hind. Um, the divine technology is inside of you. If this is too overwhelming, oh my gosh, you said so many things. Link arms with the pro. They can simplify the process for you, but the answers are all inside of you. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. May you have a tonified thyroid that will help you be clear, that will improve your skin, that will make your cholesterol levels good, your bowel movements flow, your menstrual cycles flowing and regular. And with that, I bless your day. And I hope to see you next week, where we now dive into that number one, the cholesterol issue. That's going to be my next week, because atorvastatin's number one prescribed medication. How we can holistically make the cardiovascular system flow. No, it's all about flow. All right, my dears. If no question, thanks for joining me. For those who joined live, and I want to know if you're watching replay. Hashtag replay. Any comments is appreciated. And yeah, have a good rest of your week.